right. So for those of you who just witnessed a video of choices and how to understand your consumers better, the agenda for the session today could not be more relatable. This is about moment-based engagement in a digital world, which is all about understanding your consumer data, understanding your users' preferences, their moments, and then re-engaging with them. And what a beautiful mix of panelists we have today. I think we have covered almost all sectors and all profiles and roles here. So first up, we have Nikhil Joy with us. Nikhil is truly a product enthusiast, I would say, because 6+ years of experience in the domain, with 3 years leading all things product initiatives at Zest Money. So he's here to bring in that flavor of what is product-led growth for a company such as Zest Money and others in fintech domain. Glad to have you on board, Nikhil, and good to learn from you. Looking forward to learn from you in the session today.
Thank
Um,
you. Likewise.
Thank you, Nikhil. Next up, we have Altamash. Altamash, glad you finally made it. Uh, what do I say about you? I think, 11 years of experience in digital marketing, strategy, media planning, influencer marketing, content marketing, whatnot, right? So to top it off, I think, what's even better is that you would be bringing in the flavor of growing one of the largest FMCG categories that we have known around us. That is Godrej Consumer Products, with your experience in leading the digital initiatives for the homeware category at the firm, right? So, welcome, Altamash, and it's lovely to host you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Up next, we have Vani. I've known her for a while now, and I cannot be less inspired by you, Vani. 20 years of experience, I think it's a vast experience in driving customer engagement, growth, revenue realization strategies across BFSI, FMCG, retail, media, and entertainment, right? So, I mean, it's just lovely to have you on board, Vani, and uh, you are a true industry veteran for me, I think. We look forward to learning more from you today as well.
Pleasure to be here. I'm excited for this conversation. Looking forward.
Same here, Vani. Lastly, but not the least, we have Shivali here. Again, I think she brings in a very different flavor of designing that go-to content strategy. 5 years of experience, I think 5+ years of experience in driving, deploying that end-to-end GTM strategy across platforms and communication channels. She's currently driving growth initiatives for Airtel Extreme and Wink Music, two of the largest media and audio streaming platforms out there. Welcome, Shivali, and it's lovely to learn from you as well today.
Thank you, Shivangi, for a lovely introduction. I think I'm already starting to feel so overwhelmed by the all three other panelists are like so experienced, and I'm not even there, like in terms of like half the milestone is not even achieved. But yes, I'll try to contribute in whatever way I can.
No, absolutely. I think the domains are completely exclusive. You bring in the content flavor to the panel today, and no pressure. I'm the youngest here, so don't worry. I hope I do
Uh,
justice today. So,
yeah.
so to get started today with the agenda, I think as you all are aware, let's make it more interactive, and feel free to just contribute whenever you like. I think we would first want the audience to start knowing more about what really is moment-based engagement. What does it mean to you and your brand specifically, right? And what is that difference between, let's say, campaign-centric versus that consumer data-driven, hyper-personalized moment-based campaigns for you, right? Should we start with Altamash?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's movement-based marketing is a really interesting topic, and I think it is something which most of the brands today are practicing or doing it on day-to-day basis on their campaigns. I think the 2 points which you picked up was really interesting. One is that the movements which we generally see gets created. Like there are a lot of these movements, like trends which come up on digital. Like for example, I'll just give an example of say a Powery song. It became such a big sensation on internet. It became a trend. A lot of brands started leveraging it. That's the kind of and that's the kind of scenario which we are living in today, that we create. There are so many small trends which becomes. And the second piece, which is the personalization, which we said, which is so important in today's world. Like on the basis of the life stages or basis the signals or intent of the user, a lot of personalization can be created. Now, if I have to give you just a very basic example, when we say mother, okay, there are so many different life stages of mother. Her journey starts when she's pregnant to having an infant, to a toddler, to a 3-year-old kid, to a 7-year-old kid. Now every mother has a very different behavior, because these are different stages of journey, and to have the right intent, to know those signals and to know those movements very clearly as an advertiser, to then bring some personalization out there becomes very important. So I think these are the very two different types of movement with marketing. One clearly based on the intent of the user, the signals through which we can identify the user in which life stage they are, or what personalization we can create to bring say a good experience for them, or also leveraging some movements the trends which happens on digital nowadays. Both are very distinct or two different examples of probably movement-based marketing, which I think brands are leveraging today, and they should be doing it on a regular basis.
Makes sense. Anyone to pitch in right after?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Sorry, Nikhil. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Nikhil, over to you.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just add to what Altamash was talking about. So for us as a digital lender, I mean, nobody really, it starts with the customer's intent. Moments are created with the customer's intent. So for us, nobody wakes up, deciding to take a loan, right? But they decide to buy a product, or they decide to have a need for which they need money, right? Or take a loan. In that sense, the moments or the intent driver is linked to the partners that we serve or the products that the customers want to buy. So we have a very unique problem in that this intent generation almost is driven by our partners. And then at the traditional e-commerce moment of truth, when they've decided to buy the product, is where we actually step in. Right? That's a moment of truth for us as well. Right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing about lending is that it doesn't just end there. For an e-commerce company, that moment of truth is done. The customer has bought the product. You deliver a good service. It ends there. For us, things just begin there, right? Every month when the customer has to make a repayment is another moment of truth,
Yeah.
right? So at each of those points, we need to ensure that the best experience is delivered. The customer is engaged in the right way, the right level of personalization is offered. Even related to something like repayments, right? Uh, uh, a certain segment of customer may choose a certain type of repayment mechanism. Someone may be comfortable with UPI. Someone may be comfortable using their debit card. So even these are, sort of micro segments within the larger segment. So it's very relevant to recognize these and personalize these experiences for the customer. That's the only way you can create these moments and ensure that the customer comes back for that second or third moment of truth with you consistently.
Right. Shivali, you were saying something.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, so there's this one point I would probably want to land in this entire discussion is that I open my laptop every day thinking that my customer doesn't care about me or my product. And I think that is the moment of truth for me in writing every copy, every iteration that goes in the artwork and every communication that we are trying to make, that customer, there is, if we talk about pushing or pulling them, we always have to ensure that they don't really care about you and they have umpteen options out there to buy a product. And given like how competitive this environment has become, just talking about moment-based marketing, we don't even keep it restricted to social media. Like I think that's how the usual trend has become, that a brand has to post on like party ho rahi hai or like that egg challenge or the Kylie Jenner thing. You have to do it on social, right? But we have in the last couple of months taken those moments to our in-app interactions as well. So for a very quick example on how we generate a lot of traction through audio ads within the app. So I do marketing for both Airtel Extreme and Pink Music app, and we generate a lot of traction, a lot of discovery for new songs through audio ads. And then the party hori thing happened on social media, and we made an audio ad on that particular tonality. And then CTRs went through the roof. So for generally audio ads, usually see a CTR somewhere around 2% or 2.5%. And for this particular ad, we saw 4.5% CTR in a week's time. So these trends are going to deprecate over the weeks, right? But it's important that you should not just keep it restricted to only your social media channels where users can just watch it and just be with it. You can already find out or like maybe diverge into new avenues within your app, within your ecosystem. Email obviously is the second best option of doing that, but all in-app interactions, all creators within the app, your promo cards, your banners, your notification copies, all of them, all of those collectively can speak volumes about those trends to ensure that every touch point is something that's relatable to the end user, given obviously that he doesn't care about you. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think what I'm hearing about is that, this is it's a very taxing agile exercise to keep up with your consumers, not just your consumers data, but as well as tying in that what is the latest trend out there, right? So as in when you evolve, Vani, and here I think your input will be very relevant. As in when you have evolved over years of your experience in the domain, how do you think the definition of moment based marketing has evolved, and what are the avenues at your disposal that are making your life easy to just deploy it at scale, right?
Sure. So see, it's kind of dramatically changed, right? And that won't be an exaggeration to say. And I can tell you of times when moments were defined as someone visiting actually a physical store and touching that product and feeling it and picking it up, right? And from there emerged the digital footprint, and then it moved on to what we called rule based moments, that someone say buys a product, that's the moment it is, and that's a big moment. And when you hit a milestone, it's a big moment. Birthday was considered like a big milestone, right? And from there it transitioned to really what we called trigger based moments, right? And we said, okay, something is happening in users life at this point of time, can we kind of engage and kind of get the user's attention towards the brand, right? But as our consumers are evolving, right, and they are not and you have to be where the consumer is. So earlier, while from direct mailers to emailers, or to mobile text pushes, the world has evolved, right? And you have to be where your consumer is. And that's where this whole new trend, right, what we call and not so more new, but your old trend, which is the whole moments based marketing has come in, right? It's about just leveraging what's happening in the outside world and how you can the brands get together and kind of make noise about it and bring the presence of mind, in the consumer's mind, sort of a thing. And I think that's kind of has evolved because the consumers are so online. They're available to you 24/7, 365 days. They're tracking you on social media. Your interactivity is really one-on-one and really out there. So of course, and that's how. So I think it's just transformational, the way the brands are moving, where the consumers are moving, and it's kind of you're just being there. And it's sort of, I would say, it's one of the things one does in the different marketing tactics and tools. And it's a very critical part. And I think Shwari mentioned that yes, it's no more about just being on social media picking up the trend. It is about taking it all out and building it. A good example I'll give you is of Zomato. They do it so beautifully. Every time a trend comes in, you'll see their direct emailers. They'll be like, you can't ignore them. I mean, you may not want to order or buy or whatever you want to do, but you definitely don't want to ignore that communication that sort of comes in, right? So therefore, it's kind of taking in, and the other way to look at it is that there's only that much mind share the user has, right? And when a trend gets followed, then everyone is following the trend, sort of a thing. So I think that's what it is. And a good technology is obviously sort of building it, help to scale up. And some of folks like you and others, they help doing this automation. And the real skill is about time to market, how quickly you're able to pick and you're able to leverage it and get it amplified. I think that's where the whole game kind of comes together.
Right. And I think, it's which is why it is important to sort of have that data at one place for you to also visualize patterns, how your consumers are flowing through the funnels and being able to, market on the top of it as well, right? So What would be interesting to know, especially from Nikhil Altamash, because Shivali already mentioned her real life examples of sort of leveraging this at her current firm. Are you also sort of experimenting with this, and how with some examples, how is it benefiting you as opposed to probably monthly campaign calendar based campaigns that used to run long back in the time? And I'm not sure, Altamash, if you have been through this, but given you come from a very traditional firm, I'm hoping to get some more insights from you, right?
So I think yes, especially I'll speak from the FMCG point of view. Right? I think both all Nikhil, Shivali, Vani, they picked up a really interesting point. And I think one piece which came out really, really important, and if you think of it, is personalization, right? And this personalization are based on this trigger. You need the right technology. You need to know the right intent and the movement of the consumers to build those personalization movements. And especially in FMCG, where the mind space, currently the mind share, which you say, of the consumer, right? So cluttered. Okay, we are not living in those days where there was only a television is there, where that's the only way of getting exposed to any form of brand communication, or only a hoarding or a newspaper. Today the consumers are there on mobile like for 15, 16 hours in a day. They are getting exposed to so many ads, so many communication and different forms of communication. All these trends, be it a power trend or a content or a YouTube video from an influencer, there are so many different touch points through which a consumer is actually getting information about the brand. So how do you actually stand out? And in FMCG, it's very important to build that TOM, right? To have that top of the mind recall, to be there in consumer's mind when they are there at the moment of purchase, be it online or be it offline. So for us, it becomes very important to use the data and signals very it becomes very important for us. So I'll just give you an example. Goodnight, Goodnight is the biggest home insecticide brand in India, and we generally we cater to mothers. We cater to mothers and we speak to mothers. Now it becomes very important for us to know that what different types of moms are actually doing, and what kind of content they are consuming, what are their behaviors on digital, and how do we get those intent and signals. So we use all the possible platforms through which we can gather those signals. So be it their search trends, be it the behavior that they're consuming content on Facebook or Instagram, the kind of videos they are watching on YouTube, or the intent which they show on any e-commerce platform. And we try to use those signals to classify them into different segments. So we know if somebody is looking for a pregnancy related queries, we know that this is a woman, she is in pregnancy stage, and we need to customize the communication catering to her. So when we show the creative, when we show the messaging to her, it's more specifically in catering to her life stage. That she is right now in that stage, and we try to do that. Especially with and similarly with infants and moms with infants and toddlers, their searches are very different. They are looking for diapers, they are looking for different kind of needs for the kids. And mothers who have kids about 3 to 4 years, they are looking for a different kind of things. These are the intent signals which we try to read, analyze, use those data points, and classify the audiences in different life stages, and then personalize the communication to them. And that becomes very important then. And why personalization is because in this clutter, the moment you see any communication coming to you with a small personalization touch, you tend to grab that attention of the user. And when the Facebook and YouTube of the world are saying that first 3 to 5 seconds are most important for you, for your communication to grab the user's attention, personalization plays a very important role. Because the moment I speak to you, like when I'm speaking, and what Vani said, that it has become more one-on-one. Like the communication has now become more one-on-one. And the moment a consumer realize that the messaging is for me and it is not for everybody else, it's just for me, the attention and the grabbing attention become easier. And then you can make the consumer stick through your communication and deliver the message. So it becomes very important, especially in FMCG, to time and again build that personalization, build that TOM, and be in consumer's mind at a relevant stage of her life, or at a relevant stage.
Got it. And have you really experimented with this? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of examples here with respect to, making sure that the phases of your consumers are tracked well and you're communicating with them basis that, right? But any interesting, memorable moments from that you'd like to
Correct.
quote here? Yeah.
So I'll give you two examples. Okay, one example of audio as a platform, which Shivali was actually she also picked up. And audio is a big time trend. It is growing in India. People are consuming a lot of audio content. So we did a campaign for two of our brands, one for Easy and even for Lalit, the roach killer product. We use the triggers or the signals of weather. We use the trigger of location, and we use the trigger of languages. And basis those triggers, like there were different weather triggers, location, and languages. Basis these three triggers, we customized the communication to everybody who was listening to that audio spot. So if somebody was sitting in Bombay listening to a Hindi song and the weather was 23 degrees, the message actually said that you are in Bombay, the weather is 23 degrees, it is not so hot, but these are the times when cockroach breeding can happen and you need to keep your family safe. So use that. And similarly, the same message when it went to Delhi, the temperature was 35 degrees Celsius, the city was different, the messages was clearly customized. So on the go, the technology of say dynamically creating or optimizing your creative using the DCO as a technology, we actually did this campaign for two of our brands, and we've seen that in the duration of 15 to 20 days, we were able to create more than 25,000 unique audio spots. Now to create a one specific creative itself is such a time consuming and a costly affair. But the moment you use this technology and the right trigger signals which we use, we were able to customize and create more than 25,000 audio spots. And the completion rate for those audio spots were more than 98%. And that's where the whole objective was, right? To grab the attention, to make them hear to your communication fully. And this trigger helped us. We had more than 98% completion rate. CTR was like, industry benchmark. We're breaking industry benchmark in terms of CTRs. And that's what one of the examples, one of the campaign, which gave us a lot of learning in terms of saying that how can you use a different platform like an audio and still make it customizable and deliver your message. I think this is one of the examples. The other one which I will say is I'll just continue from the example which I was giving on Good Night, where we created 6 to 7 different kinds of creatives on different life stages of mother. So for a pregnant woman, we had a very specific communication. We showed a pregnant woman in a creative. We said that how mosquitoes can be dangerous to a woman who is pregnant in pregnancy, how they need to keep themselves safe from mosquitoes. And similarly, when we were talking to mother who are having an infant or a toddler, we showed that how kids actually hover around in corners of your home, and how you need to keep them safe. The product is natural, safe for kids. So those kind of customizable communication we created for Good Night, and again we saw really good results. Like we saw the completion rate of our videos on Facebook going to as high as 80 to 90%. We have a really good CTR or having a really good response coming on the creative as well. So I probably these are the two examples which I would like to highlight to team that a good customized messaging generally helps us delivering better results in terms of digital metrics and even in terms of engagement and time spent.
It is lovely to see how Godrej has also come a long way, and beautiful examples. Thank you, Altamash. Nikhil, it's what have you done? How have you seen this faring against traditional methods, and what's the impact that you have seen in terms of quantitative metrics or qualitative anecdotes?
Sure. So for us, being a completely digital product, I mean, we've had to do this from day one, right? And because the customers have registered with us, gone through our application process, they're interacting with our platform on a daily basis, the level of data or the amount of data that is available is immense. Now, just having this data is not enough, right? You should be able to generate insights from it and actually put it into practice, use it in a way that is that favors both you and the customer, right? So just one example that I'll give you is I spoke about those moments of truth that we have, right? Whether it is a customer who's actually doing their first transaction, or whether it could be a customer making a repayment on a loan that they've already taken, right? So in each of these points, uh, we have aggressive drop-off retargeting comms, right? And these are multi-channel. It could be on WhatsApp, it could be SMS, it could be email, it could be push notifications, right? These are again decided based on the segment, which segment of customers comfortable with what mode of communication, right? Now, why this data-based, moment-based retargeting is important for us is that if once a customer drops off or shows inactivity for more than say 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, which we count as a drop off in any of our flows. If you don't reach out to the customer within the next 5 minutes, the chances, so if you do reach out within those periods, the chances of re-engaging that customer is 60%, right? But the moment you cross that 5 minute barrier, it just falls off a cliff, right? It exponentially decreases, and then after 10 or 15 minutes, it's completely gone. You have a very slim charge. It's as good as sending out outbound comms, right? Whatever click-through rate you would have for any of your channels, it's as good as that.
He's gone to some other platform and he's done, I guess.
Exactly. So you have, that's the extent of time that you have, or that is the time within which you have to actually reconvert this customer and bring them back, right? Another example that I can give you is during the lockdown in the past year, RBI imposed a moratorium for all lenders, right? Now, for being a lender, this is a very scary thing, because what started out as a 3-month moratorium extended to a 6-month period, right?
Yeah.
So for a lender, this means you're not getting any repayment data from these customers for 6 months. It means you don't know how any of these segments are going to perform after 6 months. Anything could happen, right? It's half a year, and that's like
A long
in
time.
circumstances, that's as good as a generation, right? So for us, initially our plan around reaching out to customers, on educating them around moratorium, was again based on very broad segments, right? We had 3 broad segments: low risk, medium risk, and high risk customers. And our comms, our messaging, everything was tailored through these 3 segments. We didn't see a lot of uptake, right? We didn't see the level of engagement that we wanted. We then went back to the drawing board, further divided these segments into 18 different sub-segments, right? So the total segments we broke down further, and we had 18 segments, each having a different tone, a different kind of messaging that went out. And we saw tremendous uptake, right? We saw 30% increase in the engagement to this, not even engagement, to the overall conversion. Right? And segments that were the highest risk were offered alternatives to opting for a moratorium, maybe like a restructuring, right? So this ensured that we had that data coming in for the 6 months, and we were able to educate the customers in the right way. Of course, the ones that really needed the help of the moratorium, that was offered to them and that was extended to them. Right. So these are, I think, a couple of examples that I can think of just off the top of my head.
No, makes sense. I think, while we call it moment-based marketing, the preparation is quite long to sort of get there. And, it really takes a lot of time and effort to sort of get to that consistency and sustainability, even under moment-based marketing, right? So, Shivali, what's the impact you have seen with all the efforts that you have been putting in? Are there any upticks or metrics that you'd like to quote with respect to Xstream or Wynk?
Yeah. No, so I think it's fair to talk about how volatile the entire industry has become. So being in the OTT space at the moment, it is always about the best title that you have, right? So it will be unfair to compete with the likes of Netflix and Prime, who are producing something new every day. And especially in a country like ours, where IPL is like the at the paramount of things that people would want to watch. So speaking of last year, what really happened when IPL came in, we were in the midst of lockdown, and everybody, in fact, like people who never watched cricket in their life started to watch cricket. And we are all, I think, privy to the kind of subscription and the MAU that Hotstar grew in that particular moment. But because Edel Xstream app is also a live TV platform, so there was a lot of confusion amongst users that they could also discover certain cricket-related activities on the Xstream app. And we saw a massive spurt, like almost 2x jump in our installs for that particular day. And like the entire growth team was on the call, like 8 in the morning, like what do we do? What are these users who cannot find cricket? And then I think one of the discussions, like Shivangi, we were chatting earlier, that moment-based marketing is also about creating your own moments, right? So because we did not have cricket, does not mean that we could not take part in the run. So we ensured that that particular audience. So how Nikhil also spoke about breaking the audience into multiple cohorts. So we broke that audience into multiple cohorts, for example, starting from where their demographics were. So did we acquire 10 users from Delhi versus 5 users from Bihar? So, okay, what has been the trend for content consumption in Bihar previously? So assuming that we build a lookalike for audiences in Bihar and assuming that the newly acquired users will slightly be similar to the old users and then pushing that kind of content. So entire curation of the app changed within a 2 days time that users from Bombay were seeing content like John Wick or Knives Out, and users from Bihar were seeing content in Bhojpuri languages, and some users from, I don't know, Odisha were saying something about something else, right? So I think, yes, so with that particular spike, and I think for this particular year, we're already prepared. So I don't know why I'm talking about this, but we're already talking about what will happen after a month's time when IPL will come and we will not have that kind of content. But now we are more prepared of how to cater to that particular audience who will come searching for cricket. But how do we push new relevant content? So in terms of creating those content, it is always about being on your toes and just working with the data thoroughly in terms of their consumption patterns. Where are they dropping? What kind of engagement do they have? What kind of heat maps your app has created? So is the user coming to the app and immediately downloading a movie or consuming live TV, and does he only watch what we are showing or he discovers something himself? So I think, yeah.
No, that absolutely makes sense, right? Learning from the past and deploying it to create your own moments and experimenting is what this is all about, right? But I think, Vani, it's given your experience across verticals, right? So how have you experimented with this, and what's the impact that you've seen? Split by verticals would be something very interesting for us to know.
Yeah, sure. I think a recent example would be on the OTT side. My assignment was Z5. And, it was unfortunate that Sushant Singh kind of passed away, but, last year. His show, his maiden show was actually called Pavitra Rishta, which was actually a Z show. And it started by saying that, okay, how do we kind of build a tribute for him? And we started plugging in, bringing up the show upfront to see for people. And there was a huge pickup for that show itself. And it kind of started building up the story. And then more and more, we started engaging users who came back, and it went on to building a trust and to build collecting some money and so on and so forth. And the whole surround kind of built around it. And it was no more about just pushing a show. It became a cause. It became, larger than life event, which was impacting the whole country. To be able to participate and to able to work, with the audiences, I think is one classic example I can, talk about. The other one I can, I want to share is about banking. When we went into demonetization, and at that time I was working for Axis Bank, and it was a crazy time because people didn't know what they're supposed to do, and neither the marketers knew what are they supposed to tell people. Bring your money, go your money. Can the locker be open? Like, what's going to happen here, right? And just to be able to build conversations with the consumers from the floor, from the branches, kind of questions people are asking, what is bothering them, and to be able to equipping the contact center, to be able to equipping the helplines, to be able to equipping the customer conversation communication, just kind of completely changed the way the bank was servicing and talking about it, because everyone was saying we don't know, and the whole story was that the banks were never aware if this was going to happen, which is true. We weren't aware till it was announced on television. But to be able to deal with that situation, and to come out with the quick processes, telling the users that senior citizens will come at this hour and the others can come at this hour, or what, even for the staff, what the queuing systems could be. I think the conversation, the triggering, the messaging triggering kind of played a huge role in managing that unforeseen and a crazy situation like that. So different moments at different industries. Like, I'll talk about it's still nostalgic, but say retail. I used to work for Westside almost 10 years back, and that time, of course, there was not so much digital, but we used to have this a sale preview for the loyal consumers, and it would start an hour before the regular sale would, and it would be called a preview, and it was just for 1 hour. But it would start, say, at 9 a.m. And people would start queuing it from 7 a.m. So our messaging was not only about the midnight saying that, listen, come, like this is a secret, just come to the store, but also in the morning that, are you here and are you coming? That sort of a thing. And then, again, messaging saying that, okay, great, you're here, and kind of, hand holding them at the store. So the store would know which of their most loyal consumers have come, which have not come. And, building that conversation around them, and then sending back a thank you message that, great, you were there for the sale, or, sorry, you couldn't find some things, because people would also leave some lists what they want to do. So different times, different moments being created, and different strategies to outreach, and to kind of suggest. What is important is that how you have brought the consumer at the center of your conversation, because it's all about the consumer. It's not about what the brand wants. The impact will happen. The impact will definitely happen as you will go in. What is important is, what is the consumer seeking at that point of time? Is it the emotional reason? Is it the transactional reason? Is it what need you're satisfying at that point of time? And are you kind of fulfilling it, to the T? So being, as we say, being there right place at the right time, and, in the right moment now is the new thing.
That's precisely what it is about, right? And I think you bring a very interesting point about consumer centric conversations. And you talk about FMCG, you talk about retail, you talk about banking. They've always believed in this mantra, but at a very traditional level. When you take it all digital, right? So there is a whole different world out there for you to sort of replicate the entire mantra back on this forum, right? So my follow-up question here, Vani, would be to understand, what is it that you need to be equipped with as an organization to enable this sort of agile marketing, right? Be it with respect to strategy, product, tech, right? What is it that you need to do to sort of, get there and get going?
See, I think the starting point is really that, do you get your consumers and do you know what they want? Like it's not about just following a trend or being party to it. How relevant it is there a brand fit also for that trend for you to follow? And it is not about just jumping the bandwagon. I think that's the first part, that, have you got your consumer strategy right? And do you know that who are the audiences you're going to talk to with this kind of a messaging, or is it right, for your audience, and is the fit right? I think that's the first step. And the second is, of course, and, I keep talking about this all the time, is about automation. That, you have to anything which you want to scale up, your marketing has to be automated. This is not possible to do physically, manually. Your go-to markets are no more in days and weeks, they are in hours and minutes now, right? So have you got your, creative, your content, your, data cohorting and communication, because each footprint leads to another moment. And therefore, are you able to capture it quickly and able to react to it? And build it, because consumers are also sensitive to what they are seeing and where they are seeing, and there is a proof, unlike maybe a call days or whatever, there is a proof that the user has your email or your Facebook ad or Instagram reel to tell you that it's right or wrong. So I think doing that smartly and with very agile piece, is very important. So how ready an organization is to be able to, and I would say, when I'm saying agile, it may not be very sophisticated tools, but yes, do we have tools to kind of make this and use technology to sort of make it work? And third, is of course the mindset of the organization itself. So if, your organization's hierarchy have to take approvals for, 5 people, I mean, this is not happening, because in minutes you're not getting those 5 approvals, right? How empowered your marketer is to be able to just press the button and go live with that campaign, and how much you trust. So, to get that going, it's not going to work. You can't be making huge, notes to get sign-offs for budgets to get this going. This is in the moment. The marketer is deciding, and all the young minds here, and they're all deciding what needs to be done. And I think that's the empowerment, and that's the power you give to the marketer to say, yes, this is the moment. This is my audience. This is what I want to do. This is in alignment with my brand. Let me do. Yeah, I mean, the downside is so low. What's going to happen? I mean, yeah, I mean, the only thing you'll matter is the online reputation, which you may mess around a bit because someone would say like, what the hell is this brand doing, but that's okay. That's always the PR is there to manage that one. So the marketer doesn't have to worry with that one, but just go there and do it.
I think spot on and very well structured. And you immediately had, I think, Shivali's and Altamash's buy-in on the management support piece. So yeah, but we will get to you guys. But before that, I want to know Nikhil's perspective on the matter. Like, what has it meant for you to enable the org better, Nikhil, in terms of enabling the firm to get going with the strategy?
Oh yeah, I think that's one thing that we've done really well, because see, we are in an industry where there are incumbents that are 1,000, 2,000 times the size of you. It's our only way is to be more agile, be more nimble. That's the only way you survive in banking or in lending, right? So we've been very clear about that, and across the org, be it product managers, marketers, they are empowered to take those decisions. We don't have red tape where they go through an approval process and then go through things. We believe in failing fast. If there is a hypothesis, you have complete liberty to test it out. If it doesn't work out, we're okay with that failure as well, as long as you're learning from it and not making the same mistake again, right? So and that really has been our edge, not just when it comes to marketing or reaching out to the customers or engaging, but really everything, right? Like top down, all across the product. So yeah.
Makes sense. I think, that's the power of agility in startups, so to say, as well, right? And that's what I think Vani was also talking about, that you need to be empowered in that aspect, right? But Altamash and Shivali, jointly, do you want to share your views on the matter?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. So completely agree with what Vani said, and even Nikhil from that point of view. And I think there's some very key words and key things which Vani touched upon, saying in automation. Like you need to have those data, those cohorts ready, and you need to be agile. And that's a very important part. And the moment you said that you need to be agile, you also need to ensure that you have that power to take such a certain decision. You need to also take all buy-in from all the key stakeholders when you're doing something like that. I'll just give you and I feel thanks to WhatsApp, it has made that approval process, and alignment very, very easy for all of us. Sometimes, you can just send a message, have a group with your team, just align and quickly go ahead and take those decisions. So I'll just give you one very, very recent example of the Powry campaign, which was became a big sensation on internet. As a team, the senior team members from our brand hit quickly got on a call and said, yeah, this is an interesting trend. How can we just leverage it? And it has a relevance of, because everybody is saying that party ho rahi hai. And the idea came that let's just twist it and say that if you have lal hit or kala hit, cockroaches and mosquitoes will never have party at your home. And party will khatam. Like the idea was that the Powry khatam. If you have lal hit and kala hit, Powry khatam. And that was the idea. And the moment that idea came, yes, let's quickly activate it. And we have to be agile. We have to quickly get that idea out. We said, let's find the right partner. And, at this point of time, sometimes the right partner who has a technology, who has that, ability to reach to the mass at a quick time.
Yeah.
And we partnered with one of those top meme creators pages on Instagram. Like meme has become a new method of marketing. Right? You can have the very strong brand positioning done through meme. And we know Hit as a brand is a very strong brand. The moment you show Hit as a can, people know that this product will kill the mosquitoes or cockroaches. That kill has a very strong positioning in consumer mind when it comes to Hit. We just partnered with the top meme creator, and they created Powry Khatam content of very funny memes, videos. And in span of 3 days, we got close to 5 to 6 million reach, 1 million odd engagement on a creative. And the message was very clear that if you have kala hit and lal hit, the cockroaches and mosquitoes will never be able to party at your home. And I think that's a brilliant way of being agile, quickly partner with the right partners, and get that message out.
Agreed. What an analogy, though. Shivali,
No, so actually, this takes me back to the time when I was at Uber. So I think being in that spot, I say, what do you guys mean when we talk about being agile? Because their brand approvals do not really come from within the team, people who are folks who are sitting out of Gurgaon, but like we would actually make a meme and send it to US, and then somebody in SF would see it, and because they're headquartered in Netherlands, then they'll see it, and because so you really lose that momentum, right? So I think what I've learned over the years, like if you're working for a big brand, obviously you'll have to address that there are certain concerns at hand, so they cannot afford to be that agile in terms of participating in the meal culture and everything. And I think it's already fair because there are certain people always on the lookout, like, what is this brand saying? Let me go and catch their collar, right? So, what we did, we defined a scope of work. We sat down with the brand team globally, and then we said that, okay, fine, if such situations arise in the future, this is the scope of work that we want you guys to help us with. And these are the limits that we can cross, these are the limits that we can't. We can talk about food, we can talk about these genres, etc. And then obviously, like, we'll share it with you, but we'll take our judgment call and push it around. So I think that scope of work needs to be defined, especially when you're working with the bigger brands. And then I think the second thing to address here is that you always actually need the alignment from your leadership, from your top management, right? So as Nikhil rightly pointed it out, Wink at the moment is a fairly young organization. We are all very young blooded, and the average age here would be around 26, 27. So in that case, getting in alignment from the leadership in sense that, do you believe in meme culture or do you believe in social media, is always an affirmation. But when you work with older organization, and I'm sure Altamash would probably agree with me that people who are above the age of 45, 50 do not really understand, like, what does this mean? Like, they will not always come in agreement to the millennial culture, but those are the kind of things that work, right? So I think a scope of work is very important, and which has really helped me in the past in getting out all those moment based memes in time, and sometimes in a span of less than 30 to 40 minutes. And I think, yeah, we just like there are different lessons at different organizations. So big brands do not know each other. That is the crux.
No, it's true. While WhatsApp has saved our lives as well as salespeople to sort of close things faster with, let's say, a future group or a Flipkart. But at the same time, we do deal with processes in large enterprises, and it sort of slows down the entire evaluation, automation, procurement, etc. Right? And which is where in one line, if all of you were to give one advice on for especially traditional setups, what is it that they should focus from the start to enable a path towards reaching executing moments based marketing that way, right? So what would be your advice to and a suggestion on where they should start, right? Starting with anyone, like
I'll take it first and be done with it. So I think my strategy here is that every time like we make a meme or something like that, I send it to people who are 5 to 7 years younger than me, like my cousin based out of, like, I don't know, my hometown and all, etc. And then I send it to my peers who are in the same industry as me, and then somebody like from past I have known. So like 3-step verification is something that I follow, and those kind of people's, like, if all three of them are collectively laughing or enjoying or relating with it, then it's a quick go ahead, and I do not seek further approvals. So I think that kind of strategy has worked really well, because at the end of the day, most of the apps are catering to audience size between 15 to 50, right? So as even as music OTT, I would want like a mother sitting in, I don't know, Jamshedpur laughing at it, and obviously like a daughter along with it showing her that meme. So that kind of validation should be gender and age agnostic. So I think if you seek validation from three sets of different people, they will give you probably some feedback on how to change the copy and everything. And I think that's something that's been working really well. Yeah.
absolutely. Nikhil, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah, so I think one advice that I'll give again to probably the senior marketing folks at larger companies is trust your team. Empower them so that they can really act on these opportunities, because you only have a very small window before a trend becomes old, right? Or before a moment is lost.
Yeah.
Go either way, right? So empower your teams to take that decision, trust them, and of course, if things don't work out, again, you learn from them and then optimize on the next campaign or next content. Right? So that's the only advice.
Spot on, and we are going to quote you on that, Nikhil, now. Educate masses for sure.
But I'll just add to what Nikhil was saying, that so what we do at Godrej is that we try and do a lot of tests. So do this test campaign, have your learnings. If you feel that it has a scale, it has an opportunity to grow in future, and then if you want to expand. If you want to correct something, you correct something. But doing a lot of this test campaigns, trying these new initiatives is the only way where we will learn new technologies and new ways of marketing on, especially when it comes to say an organization at Godrej where we have so many other ways of marketing as well. How do you make new initiatives, part of your overall mix? And that's only possible when the moment you want to test and create your own experiences and you want to have your own understanding and expertise built. So I think test, learn, and then grow, expand is what the suggestion we probably will give it to everyone out there. That don't be afraid of testing new technologies or new ways of marketing.
As transparent as it can get, can it? Vani, over to you.
Yeah, I think my two bits are really concluding this would be that one, prepare your marketing team for scale up. So yes, we like it or not, automation is part of it. It's same thing how data used to be 10 years back. That when it started, that you need data analytics and you need data. Now it's hygiene. Similarly, you can't live without technology. So yes, go get the right technology stack for your marketers and empower them to do what they want to do. And the second thing is about, test. Don't be fearful of doing things. You'll fail sometime. You will do better sometime. But it's like every time you'll do something, you will definitely get your consumers' reaction, and you'll get to learn from it. So the downside is very less of doing this. The upside is very huge. If your consumers engage with you, you're going to be really in for a long run. So no fear. Just go try.
Cannot agree more. With this, I think our session comes to an end, and you all have been a wonderful panel for me. I enjoyed the conversation personally. To learn from each one of you, and thank you so much for sparing this time.